Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding the fascinating intersection of unimaginable digital wealth, modern romance, and the highly private wedding of the world's absolute biggest YouTuber. We're talking, of course, about Jimmy Donaldson, who we all know as MrBeast. We're going to look at the mind-blowing numbers, the surprisingly grounded love story, and yes, we are absolutely getting into that viral prenuptial agreement everyone's been talking about. It is literally a masterclass in how a modern digital empire manages its most personal milestones.
Okay, let's dive into this, because to really wrap our heads around the significance of this event, we have to grasp the sheer unbelievable scale of MrBeast. 500 million. I mean, it's a number that's almost hard to even process, right? Over 500 million global subscribers. He's the #1 individual creator on the planet, named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people. Basically, when Jimmy does anything, 500 million people are watching.
And look, with an audience that massive comes an astronomical financial reality. 34 billion Korean won. That is his estimated monthly revenue just from YouTube ads alone. And that doesn't even account for his massive brand deals, the food companies, the other business ventures. Forbes estimated his 2026 annual income around $300 million. We're setting the stage here because we aren't just talking about a marriage between two 28-year-olds. We're talking about the financial stakes of a massive, globally recognized enterprise.
Which brings us to the hook that literally caught the entire internet's attention. 7.3 billion Korean won, or exactly $5 million US. This staggering multi-million-dollar figure is the infidelity penalty explicitly written into his prenuptial agreement. If he cheats, he pays. It's a clause that immediately went viral, and trust me, we are going to break it down in detail a bit later in this explainer. But first, how did a man with 500 million followers actually celebrate his big day?
Section 1. The 500M YouTuber's luxury wedding, a private island escape.
Moving from the macro scale of his internet fame and that massive financial empire, we enter the surprisingly intimate reality of his July 2026 wedding. And this brilliantly illustrates the wild duality of Jimmy's life. On the one hand, an audience of 500 million people watching his every single move. But on the other, the guest list for his wedding was only 70 people. For a guy famous for massive, chaotic spectacles and literally giving away private islands, his own wedding was incredibly private. He wanted to escape the public eye. In fact, he specifically requested a completely camera-free environment, allowing only one professional wedding photographer to capture the whole thing. Just 70 close friends and family members tucked away on a private island.
And honestly, what an island it was. The celebration took place on Necker Island down in the British Virgin Islands, which is a 74-acre private resort owned by Virgin Group founder Richard Branson. For a full week starting around July 14th, those 70 guests were treated to an absolute luxury escape. They didn't just show up for a ceremony, they spent days kite surfing, snorkeling, and interacting with the island's wildlife. I mean, they were feeding lemurs and flamingos. And for the reception, the couple danced to a live band playing Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars's hit Die With a Smile. It was just a week-long party featuring endless plates of luxury sushi and Wagyu beefs. But then, right in the middle of all that absolute luxury, the private island, the Wagyu beef, the live bands, you have this deeply personal, almost surprising detail. The wedding cake wasn't some towering, gold-leafed 5-tier spectacle. It was just a simple carrot cake. Why? Well, because it's the bride's favorite. It's a perfect representation of the grounded nature of this couple. It reminds us that beneath all that billionaire-level extravagance, they're really just two people who wanted to share a slice of their favorite cake.
Section 2. From first meeting to marriage. The grounded love story. So who exactly is the woman sharing that carrot cake? Let's explore how Jimmy and Thea Boyson actually built their relationship, far away from the YouTube cameras. If we trace their journey chronologically, it actually starts halfway across the world back in 2022. Jimmy was visiting South Africa, went to a dinner with some acquaintances, and that's where he first met Thea, who is from South Africa. They hit it off instantly. After Jimmy flew back to the US, he slid into her DMs, and just 1 month later, they bravely kicked off a long-distance relationship. Fast forward to Christmas 2024, Jimmy got down on one knee and proposed with her family watching. And finally, that 2022 dinner culminated in the beautiful July 2026 private island wedding we were just talking about. I absolutely love this quote from Thea when she was looking back at that very first meeting. She said, "I thought a YouTuber would be a fabricated character, but he was a genuinely good person with no ego." Jimmy actually echoed this later, saying they connected right away over a shared love for learning and just growing as people. Despite the crazy numbers and the intense fame, their connection was based on shared values. It wasn't about the MrBeast persona. It was about Jimmy, the surprisingly down-to-earth guy.
Section 3. Unimaginable 1 trillion income. The
the reality of a digital empire.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because while their romance is incredibly grounded, the reality of marrying into this specific family is anything but ordinary. We're stepping back into the financial reality of a digital empire, generating revenues pushing $1 trillion. But what's really fascinating here is exactly who Thea Boysen is in her own right. She isn't just a partner swept up in Jimmy's fame, she is a highly accomplished creator operating under the name Thea Beastie, with hundreds of thousands of followers of her own. But check out her academic and professional background. She holds degrees in psychology and law, she's an esports commentator, she's a published author. This is a highly educated, multifaceted professional. And knowing she has that background in law perfectly sets up the logic behind the highly structured, viral marriage agreement they ultimately signed.
Section 4. The viral 7.3B prenup, protecting the empire.
So when your digital empire is this vast, a standard marriage certificate just isn't going to cut it. Let's look objectively at the prenuptial agreement that caught the attention of news outlets all over the world. The crucial point here is how this contract perfectly balances accountability with corporate protection. On one hand, we have the behavioral clause. If Jimmy is unfaithful, he is legally obligated to pay Thea $5 million, or roughly 7.3 billion Korean won. It's a massive, tangible penalty for breaking trust. But look at the other side. In the event of a divorce, Thea has no claim to the MrBeast YouTube channel, the ad revenues, or the brand assets. The empire remains completely insulated. It is airtight protection for a business that hundreds of employees and 500 million fans rely on every single day.
As Thea herself has said, their daily lives really won't change. They're still going to go home, feed their pets, and plan out their next adventure. But it definitely leaves us looking at the broader picture here. When a digital creator reaches the point where their brand is worth hundreds of millions, or even pushing $1 trillion, where do we draw the line? Is a modern mega creator's marriage simply a traditional romance, or is it also out of sheer necessity a high-stakes corporate merger? It's a fascinating dynamic that is absolutely redefining what modern marriage looks like at the very top of the creator economy. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the fascinating structures behind the content we consume every day.